Dinky-Doo, my hearties, a very good evening to you. It's just me, Scottie McClue, and we are, of course, live on the big one. Yes, welcome, I say. Thank you for coming and joining us. We've got 1 hour of superb, scintillating information, education, and entertainment made possible, not just for one nation, but for every nation of the world who can get themselves on to the internet. So there we go. So there's no excuse for anybody not coming and joining us, I tell you, except that they might not know. That's where you can share. I tell you. And as soon as you come on, do let us know and we'll give you a shout out. Tell us where you're watching from. That's always a good bit of fun as well, I say to you. So there we go. And the chat is open, so let's hear from you, I say. Now, who have we got here? Billy's just joined us. Tina's just joined us. Warm welcome to you guys. Lovely to have you with us Saturday night. Nothing gets past me. Dinky-Doo, Scottie McClue, says the wonderful Rachel. Rachel, Dinky-Doo to you, and thank you for joining us. How amazing is that, I say to you. There's Khaled as well. Welcome. Good to have you with us. Always tell us where you're watching from. Good evening, Scottie, says Susan. Good evening, Susan. Lovely to have you with us, as it always is. So there you are, Numpty Heed, Scottie. You're 2 weeks late. Why? Nae been wheel numpty heed. That should be enough for you. You shouldn't go prying. You're an awful one for prying, I say to you. There we go. Just trying to sort out the camera. Better. That's better. That's better. Especially for you, numpty heed. So there you go. Now, what have we got? Whereabouts did we say? Did we say Faversham the last time? Did we say, where else did we say? Did we say Ramsgate? I don't know. You do tell me. Hi, Professor Numpty, says Susan. There we are. They're having a chat. Hi, Susan, says Professor Numpty. I love it, the way people come on and have a wee chat within a chat, a wee show within a show. Dinky-Doo, says Chrissy. Dinky-Doo, Chrissy. Tam says, good evening, pal. How are you doing, you top man? You're the top man, Tam. Remember that. I've told you that. Blue, no way, Scottie. Oh, yes. Blue tonight. Blue and green. There we go. I'm in Maidstone. Oh, we said Maidstone, Rachel. I remember going to Maidstone, I think I told you, to audition for TVS. That was the television station at the time, TVS. Robert says, Scottie, many workers tragically died building the Titanic in Belfast. Many workers tragically died building the Titanic in Belfast. Was it 132, Robert? There we are. Hello, says Kareem. Hello, Kareem. Lovely to have you with us. Love you, Scottie, says Chrissy. Chrissy, you're very, very kind to me. Lots of love, I say to you. Get following, guys. If you've just joined us, this is the top talk show on TikTok and YouTube. So get joining us. Get following as soon as you can. I've never understood it. We've had millions, literally millions, watch Scottie McClue. But see, getting them all to subscribe and do all that sort of stuff. Come now. Hello from Rotherham, Dinky-Doo. Study Bitcoin. We've had a look at it. Yes, I don't know a lot about it. That's a lovely hat. Beautiful, Amy, isn't it? No, it was only 8, Scottie, which I was quite surprised about because it was a massive undertaking for the White Star Line. Do you know, it's funny. Using that, I don't know where to get the 132 from, but at first I thought it was quite a small number. And I was going to say 7. I thought, no, there would be more on the Titanic. Hiya, mate. Hi, Dinky-Doo, Kieran. Study again. You must excuse the cough. I've had a very challenged chest. There we are. Scottie, why is 6 scared of 7? Could it be because 7, 8, 9? See what I just did there? I hope I didn't spoil your fun. There we are. Now, Gerard says, I thought you were dead, as you sounded old 30 years ago. Gerard, why on earth would I be dead? What would be the point in that? So there you go. Are you a Shinty fan? No, JD. I used to read the Shinty results on Grampian television. The Camanachd Cup. There we are. And you had King Yusei playing, all that sort of stuff. But no, I'll tell you, my father was a Shinty player, believe it or not, in the army. It's not the cough they carry often, it's the coffin they carry often. Yes, thank you, Man in Black. That's cheered us all up, no end. Do you know, talking of being cheered up, have you noticed the telly? Everything is serious. Where is all the comedy? Brian Paul, Dinky-Doo, yes indeed. Hi from Port Glasgow, says Beth. Beth, always lovely to have a Portonian on. A Portonian on. Do you see where I came from there? You have a week off, Scottie, not 2 week offs. Well, I had 2 week offs, and I saw a cow with a week half. Must have been on holiday, I tell you. But Numpty Heed, you know me, I crawl into my work. I had to take time off my work for the first time in 50 years. Tut, tut. Have you heard of the last name Rodden? Yes, Joseph. I actually know somebody with that name. So there you go. Now, what have we got here? So the Shinty, excellent. Comedy is in your hat, says Gerard. Oh, and in my heart, I tell you. But where is the comedy? You watch the telly, the news, everybody's switching it off. Television figures are absolutely plummeting because radio's fine, always will be, but television's plummeting because people are fed up with the depression. There we are. Now, who have you got here? Scottie, loved your radio show years ago. I tell you. The new is war. Yep, absolutely. But enough to depress you. So be very brave and just bit it off. That was Francie and Josie, Jack Milroy, Scottie. Mary and I love your show, son. We listen every day. See when you finish, we pit it off. Scottie, I'd like to donate glasses to you. Wine glasses, yes. Well, of course, I being a broadcaster, I tend not to give something would cause a stushy. It comes out, people say, Scottie took 6 £1 wine glasses at a present, stuff like that. Honestly, we don't go into it, but it just doesn't bear thinking about. I tell you, camera's not working very well, says Jerry. What's wrong with it, Jerry? It looks great here, so I would say the camera's working well. But maybe your picture's not good. Thoughts on the PM? Wouldn't even go there. Wouldn't go there. Don't have any thoughts. I tell you. Oof, says Gerard. I tell you, Gerard. Oof. So check your kit. Hi, Scottie, I'm your favourite fan, says MCFC. Fix your lashes. We've got everything lashed down here. And a very good knots, so nothing needing fixed. I want to meet you, says Colin. You're very kind. Dinky-Doo, says JKSB. FLOTI, uppercase, first lord of the internet. That's me. I tell you. This is amazing. Is that you in the back? That's me this is me in the front. That's me in the back with a Labrador dog, Lord Reith, called after the founder of the BBC 100 years ago. 102 years ago now. Do you go into the Four Corners? the four corners. Well, we have to hoover up. I was at the Greenock Morton game today again. We won 2-0. A very good day out. Excellent, I tell you. You keep freezing on me. Well, it is quite cold, man in black. I tell you. So I know the camera's fine here. Thank you very much, definitely. Thank you for following me. I loved you back in the day on the radio. Your topics were class. Well, we might well be back on soon. So buckle up, I say. It's going to be a bumpy ride. The only thing is you're a bit limited nowadays in what you can say. We should be advancing as a society, not going backwards, I tell you. I love your lives. They're amazing. You're very, very kind. Please share them. Would you start a podcast? Now, I did one in Greenock. I want to know the difference between a podcast and what we're actually doing. Hi, fair broth. John, we love our broth. I'll hear Smokey. Big Brother State, Scottie. I know, man in black. It will change. It's temporary. There we go. Now, who have we got here? One day we shall visit Scotland. Lovely. Smile and be grateful. I tell you. Get following, guys, as soon as you can. Stay well. And you too. Thoughts on hearts falling apart. Oh. What's your thoughts on Aloha? Well, I started your local radio station. And I started it 34 years ago. Fantastic. Yes, indeed. Yes. Yes, 34 years ago, Central FM. And we had a studio in Aloha. Lovely part of the world, click manager. And Robert says, Scottie, which Scottish town is the easternmost part of the UK? Which Scottish town? Town or city? So there you go. I mean, I would say Aberdeen's quite far east. There's not still a Scottish part to Berwick, is there, is it, in England? It's all in England. What about, how far out's Kirkcaldy? I'm just having a bit of a think here. How far out is Lossiemouth? All right? Give us a wee go. Help me here. Wick. Is the old lady's that? There we are. Peterhead, says Robert. Peterhead. Peterhead and the Broch. Yes, you are quite far out, man. I tell you. St. Andrews. St. Andrews. People shout St. Andrews. My friend asked if you're single. Oh, Ella, what a lovely thing to ask. So there you go. Now then, who have we got here? Ewan. Ewan, DINKY-DOO, thank you for coming and joining us tonight. This is fantastic. Innerleithen. My friend Abby was wondering about that too. Innerleithen. Peebles. No, it's not quite as far to the east. So they are, might be Peterhead. Gerard's shouting Edinburgh. But no, you've got a lot more to the east than Edinburgh. You're way out to Dunbar and North Berwick, out that way. And then Fife sticks out a bit, I tell you. What's your thoughts on the east end of Greenock? A beautiful part of the world, stuffed full of beautiful people. But a lot of people struggling because Thatcher stole their futures. Thatcher stole their futures. And I could say that with a heavy heart, but an honest take. Have you ever been to Erskine? Used to go to Erskine on Friday nights for the ferry. I was to visit Erskine at the Hop. Do you like raspberry conserve? Says Adam. I don't like raspberry conserve. I love raspberry conserve. DINKY-DOO, Scottie, Thatcher was nothing short of a disaster. Well, she, all of these Westminster governments are a disaster for Scotland. Do you mind the good old days on Real Radio all day? Scotland's finest radio hour. Scott FM. There we go. DINKY-DOO. Guys, if you're watching on the YouTube, get subscribing big style. Have you been to Dumbarton? I know Dumbarton like the back of my hand. Where is the back of my hand? Dumbarton. Bruce Hill. Very nice. And I used to work in Dumbarton, so I know it very well. Do you remember the big distillery? Absolutely incredible. Huge distillery. Do you remember Keele School? Holyrood's a disaster for Scotland. No, I don't think it is, actually. Scotland has at least had some kind of defence from Westminster since they set the Parliament up. Which Scottish king? Thatcher made them homeowners, says John. Yeah, but she also took the industrial heart of it. Where are the shipyards? Where are the mines? Where's Ravenscraig? Where's Leyland Trucks? I tell you. Which Scottish king was defeated at the Battle of the Standard in 1136? Scottie. Was it an Alexander? Was it Alexander the Third? Either the second or the third. I think it was an Alexander, Robert. Tell me if it was an Alexander, and if it wasn't, don't tell me, and I'll see where else we can go. Have you been to Bell's Mire in Dumbarton? Yes. Caledonian McBrain, says Scott. No. Caledonian McBrain, wonderful. You see, it's things like Caledonian McBrain or Calmac that have saved Scotland. And they held Scotland together for about 150 years. And I could tell you all about that. Raccoon Man is sending me red roses. Guys, McClue never needs anything, but there is a goal there. If anyone's feeling flush, you won't see it on YouTube. You'll see it on TikTok. If anybody's feeling flush, there's a goal there. Now, if you're just a wee bit flush, red roses. If you're flusher than flush, a donut. And if you're very, very flush, there's one Paris. But it's a fortune. Check it out first. There we are. DINKY-DOO, Chris, lovely to hear you. I tell you. Thatcher took the heart out of Scotland, says Susan. She did, Susan. But Scotland has rebuilt its heart. She gave Scotland a heart attack, and she took all the business away. Ravenscraig, all the mines, all the steelworks, all the heavy engineering, all the shipyards, all these jobs, and they were never replaced. Scottie, I've missed you, says Christian. DINKY-DOO, says Simon. Thoughts on Balamory making a return? What's the story in Ballamori? I like it. I noticed they're pronouncing Tobermory because it rhymes with what's the story and Ballamori. But is that the right pronunciation? Would the Mullachs of Tob pronounce it Tobermory or Tobermory? I just knew it as Tob when I was wee. Scottie, I'd like to give you a Blackpool tower. You'll need to build it yourself. On up to you. You don't need to give me a thing. There is nobody on this planet has been more generous to Scottie McClue. What's happened? 50% of target. OMG. Raccoon Man, do not bankrupt yourself. Fantastic, I say to you. There's a young team in Dumbarton called Dinky. Are you associated with them? I'm not associated with any young teams, I tell you. So there we go. 80% of the goal. 80% of the goal. Has anybody any concept how generous Raccoon Man and all the others achieved the goal? Guys, I'll tell you, I feel even more humble than usual in the company of you guys. That's so very, very good of you. Scottie, I made up a joke. Would you like to hear it? Tups wahoo. Is it clean? Is it inoffensive? Lace manufacturing was our factory. Gone. Linoleum, Kirkcaldy, mining, Fife. I'm Audrey from Scotland. Lovely to have you with us, Audrey. Hello from Bournemouth, Neil. Always good to have you with us from Bournemouth. Scottie, do you know The People's Friend is one of the oldest magazines? Well, my granny, who was born in 1884, I think it was, she read The People's Friend. Annie S. Swan, does that ring a bell? And in the front, you always had a drawing of a Scottish village Raccoon Man. What are you doing? Raccoon Man's still giving me red roses. Dinky-Doo, I'm at. How much money does England make from Scotland's whisky and all money and so on? It makes about 85 billion. 75 to 85 billion a year. Scotland's a cash cow. I love your stories, Scottie. Dinky-Doo, Raccoon Man. But you are so kind to me. Oh, my joke. Go on. Right, we'll just say, what do you call a man with a torch? Do you want independence, Scottie? Scotland would benefit from independence. I'm not political at all, but Scotland would benefit hugely from independence. Opinions on the Free Church of Scotland. Well, do you know, it's interesting because the Free Church is actually the new kid on the block. The Johnny come lately. The Free Church didn't appear. The Church of Scotland, I would say, really got its feet under the table in the early 1600s. So if you look at St. Giles, when Knox turned, Knox was a Catholic, remember, as everybody was. And then Knox turned, the Reformation, and the Lutherans across Germany, and the Calvinists. And Knox was 1500s, but he got the Reformation going good style. Look at the Canongate Kirk further down the Royal Mile. It's the kirk of Edinburgh Castle and Holyrood House. 1688, the Canongate Kirk. Well worth a visit. And James the Sixth, who was a Protestant monarch and took over the English crown, had a Catholic baptism because he was Mary Queen of Scots' son. Interesting. And then he became a Protestant. The Free Church didn't really appear till 1843 with what was called the Disruption, a breakaway. Yeah? And they worshipped in the Free Church. No organ music, sitting for the psalms rather than the hymns, great for the psalmists, and standing for the prayers. And very, very devout, that God could be brought in, actually brought in, and very strong on the fire and brimstone. So a lot to be said for the Free Church. There was another group, the Seceders. And I'll tell you a place that's great for church history, if you go digging about, is Greenock, where I was brought up. And there's a square in Greenock called George Square, that one? And there are 5 churches in it. You could cross the road to another church. So I tell you, we wouldn't need to pay for healthcare as there's no NHS outside of Scotland. Happens to Ireland. It's thunder and lightning where I live. Where are you, Jamie? Where are you and Sooty? What church are you a part of? Were you a minister? No, but I was asked fairly recently if I would consider being a minister. What did you study at university? I studied dramatic art. So there you go. Scottie, can I have a dinky-doo, please? Jim, Soph, and the Bump. Yorkshire Jim. Of course you can. I tell you, I live in the UK in the Black Country. Jamie, we send love to the Black Country. I used to broadcast to the Midlands. Where are you? Are you in Wolves? Are you at Wolverhampton? Are you at Walsall? There we go. Who have we got here? I go to Well Park Midkirk Church in Greenock. Do you know that church? Know it like the back of my hand. I can go back to when Mr. McClue was the organist and Mr. Porteous was the minister. Do you remember that? So there we go. Huge big church in the centre of the town. Wonderful old church, the Midkirk. And I can remember the original Well Park, right at the top of Well Park, the top of Lindach Street. And my goodness, that was one cold church. It was huge because Greenock had a massive, massive church following. And there were so many churches in Greenock. I could give you a list of them. Right, who have we got here? Ah, this is quite nice. What do you call an Irishman with a torch? Sean. There we go, Tops right here. You got it in there. Annie S. Swan was a founder of the SNP, I think, Scottie. She was a big suffragist as well. But Robert, you see, my grandmother was a suffragette. My mother's name was Christabel, and she was called after Christabel Pankhurst. My grandmother married in 1910, and she was in London before that and knew the suffragettes. Where was the Queen Mary built, Scottie? Was it the Clyde? Mine goes blank. Robert. The Queen Mary was built at John Brown's in Clyde Bank, and she was yard number 534. There we are, and she was launched in 1936. What about that? Yes, says Tuxray. Good one, Tuxray. We love your joke. So I tell you that. We got here. Single mothers? Oh, yes. Do you believe in God then, Scotty? Yes, of course. You wouldn't like to think that the power was in any of the political lot, would you? The power is in the hands of a supreme being. Yes. Who may well be ethereal, even if God was good, orderly, disciplined. But right up the top there is only one true God for all religions. So I tell you, I did, Lee, you're correct. There's a chappie just down the road from me at St. Lawrence's in Greenock. Do you know that one? Yes, now. I think there was an original St. Lawrence's, and it was I don't know if you've ever come off the motorway in Glasgow at the side there at Charing Cross, and there's a huge big red sandstone church. Now, the double of that church was where the fire station is in Greenock, opposite the wee pub at the back. And I think that was the original St. Lawrence's church. Does anybody know if I'm right? And a great man who I knew very, very well for designing churches in Greenock was a man called Jack Coyer from Gillespie, Kiddincoya, the architects. Yeah, and he was the architect for the Roman Catholic Church and built some wonderful. If you look at Orangefield in Greenock, that's a Coyer church. And there's another one, I think, just off the Bahwirley Road. I'm your man, you'll see when it comes to that. Good news about the Commonwealth Games. Yes, John Donnelly, I was ready to start reduced games, egg and spoon, sack race, three-legged. Sorted. But we're going to get them. Scotty, did you ever use the Scott FM studio just off the M8? No, numpty heed, it wasn't there then. The Scott FM, when it's set up, I think had a studio in the Daily Record building in Glasgow. I think they did. And then the main studios were number 1 Shed Albert Quay, Leith. So I was based at Leith Docks. Used to watch the ships going in and out when I was argy-bargying with the people. Oh, yes. There we go. Gerard says, none of the Coyers what? They were all flawed, cold, or wet. There were faults through the innovative design with some of the Coyer buildings. And somebody actually said that directly to Jack at an architect's conference. And I won't repeat what Jack said back to them. But he was a wonderful man, and his designs were incredible. And he had 2 wonderful people working with them as well in the practice. So there you go. Now, who else have we got here? Before Google, we had Scotty. Absolutely, Bugsy. Yes, indeed. I laugh when people go, research it, Google it. I say, listen, I was around giving out facts before there was any of these search engines. It was the one at the side of the Daily Record I was on about. Numpty heed, I've got you. Yes, indeed. Yes, I thought you meant the ones at Baillieston, because Scott FM moved from Edinburgh to Baillieston, and it was my big buddy John Mars that took them there. Absolutely fantastic. Now, who have we got here? Scotland built some of the greatest vessels on earth. Love it. They did. Almost everything was built in Scotland. So you've got to remember, Britain delivered 75% of the world's coal. All these wonderful miners in Fife and Ayrshire and central Scotland and Stirlingshire, tremendous stuff. Topsway says, I heard that Google was almost called Scottie, but they couldn't afford you. I might set up a search engine yet, I tell you. We shall have to see. There we go. But so much was built at Scotland. I mean, yards that you might not have heard of. The John Wood Yard, Thompson and Company, Lubnitz, Hugh McLean's, Caird and Company, Harland and Wolff Greenock, who only built one ship, Scott's Shipbuilding and Engineering, Lithgow's, yeah? So all these yards, and I knew the people, Ferguson's. I knew the Fergusons very well. Scottie, have you ever considered broadcasting abroad? Well, Numpty, we're actually doing it right now. Now, not everybody knows about this program, but we are going round the world right now. People are watching in Australia and in Tierra del Fuego. My wife just caught me giving her a hug, but watching you on the screen, Scottie. Topsway, hey, wonderful. Now then, who else have we got here? Amen. Where was the RMS Olympic built? The Olympic. I'm not entirely sure. I can't say for sure Scotland. You see, there were other great shipbuilders. There was Vickers at Barrow. There was Swan Hunter on the Tyne. There was Hall Russell in Aberdeen. You see? Big shipbuilding companies. Yarrows moved to the Clyde from London because they were right in the centre of London, building on the Thames till about 1904. And then one of the families found Scotland, the Clyde, deep, safe for shipping, steel and coal almost on the doorstep, railways, wonderful, massive. So Yarrows moved to the Clyde. And the Yarrow family home, Sir Harold Edgar Yarrow, was the chairman of the Clydesdale and North of Scotland Bank. You know, because Scotland had several of its own banks. The Union Bank of Scotland, the Bank of Scotland, the North of Scotland Bank, the Clydesdale Bank Limited, the Royal Bank of Scotland, the Commercial Bank of Scotland, the National Bank of Scotland, the British Linen Bank of Scotland. So you have the National Bank and originally the Commercial Bank. The City of Glasgow Savings Bank, it went bust in the 1880s. And I actually worked in one of their offices. Yes. Scottie, my father was not a tool maker. Just saying. All right, Numpty, he'd right. Well, we won't put that on him then. There's a chapel just down the road from me at St. Lawrence's in Greenock. Do you know that one? Yes, I will do. Is that the one out nearer where it used to be Western SMT? I tell you. There we go. Now, what do we got here? Nemo me and Punla Kesset, LM06. You are 100%. Nemo me impune lacessit. Nobody attacks me with impunity. The motto of the Scottish Crown. And that's when I hear all these absolute half-wits who go, no, I'm not supporting, it's no our king. Yes, he's our king. Always our king. The Scottish Crown. The crown is Scottish. We took over the English crown in 1603. We even elected our king in 1320. Nemo me impune lacessit, the Royal Regiment of Scotland. Yes, indeed. Did it not used to be the Black Watch? Was that theirs originally? Whodor meadow wi me is the local colloquial translation. Now, here we got, my father worked as a joiner on the QE2, launched in 1968. Yard number 736, is that right? And later managed to afford travelling on it a couple of times. This is a gorgeous story, Tupsway. I'll tell you for why. Because there was a chap said to his wee boy when the QE2 launched and was going down the Clyde, you and me will never actually be on it, although we built it. You know? Right, tell you. Yes, you're correct, Scotty. Thank you very much. Egg and spoon, yes. I live in the Bahwirley Road. We love the Bahwirley Road. Are you okay for going down to the shops and walking back up again? Ooh, I bet you've got muscles on you. Muscles on you, yes. The size of Rose Neath. 2 bags of heavy shopping. Up the Bahwirley Road. Scotty, there's not a scale model of the Queen Mary in the Glasgow Transport Museum. Which Queen Mary? Williams and black and white funnels. Captain Williamson. They had the Queen Mary built at Denny's of Dumbarton in 1933. So she was launched in 1933, and very fine steamer, still with us, moored in Glasgow. I don't think she's got her machinery. And Cunard now. In Lloyd's Register of Shipping, you can't have 2 vessels, I think it's over 150 tons, of the same name. So Cunard wrote to Williamson Buchanan and asked, could they by any chance have the name Queen Mary for their new Cunarder, and could the Queen Mary, the Clyde steamer, be called Queen Mary II? And Williamson Buchanan agreed, which was later bought by Caledonian Steam Packet Limited. Williamson Buchanan agreed, and that vessel sailed as Queen Mary II until the big Queen Mary, who's still sitting in California, was decommissioned, and they got the name back, so she's now the Queen Mary again. And Queen Mary sent a picture for the saloon of the Clyde steamer. So we went on the Clyde steamer when I was a wee boy. The saloon was beautifully kitted out with sofas and settees. And there was a lovely portrait of Her late Majesty Queen Mary, Charles V's wife, on the saloon. I don't know if it's still there. Now, I live in a top floor tenement. Can hardly get my stomach up the stairs, says Tupsway. Well done, Tups. I was on the Queen Mary when it was docked in Los Angeles back in the 1980s. I wasn't impressed until I found out that the Poseidon Adventure was filmed there. Yes, but was the Poseidon Adventure not also the two-funneler, right? I mean, are we not talking about the Queen Elizabeth? Can't remember. I did see the Poseidon Adventure when it was in the pictures. They didn't turn it upside down, though, it's just upside. No, I would think not. Although, sadly, what did turn upside down was the Queen Elizabeth in Hong Kong Harbour. And you'll see her in a James Bond film. She's the headquarters for the Secret Intelligence Services in Hong Kong, our man in Hong Kong. And Bond goes aboard her. And she dominated Hong Kong Harbour for years. And about 5 years ago, I met a lady from Hong Kong, youngish lady. And I asked her about the Queen Elizabeth in the harbour. And she said, I don't know what you mean. So I explained to her, and she came to me the next day, said, I spoke to my father. It's now part of I think it's a motorway or a road in Hong Kong. They've used the Hulk to shore up one of the highways. The man with the golden gun. Is that it, Tupsway? And you see the Queen Elizabeth in Hong Kong Harbour. She went on fire and rolled over. You have a very posh Kelvinside accent. Well, no, I'm not posh. And it's not really an accent. It's just the way I've always spoken. Scottie, a lot of work must have been done on the Clyde shipyards to cope with the sheer size of the Queen Mary. Robert, she was massive. And when our younger sister, the Queen Elizabeth, she had to be refurbished. And they brought her into the Inch Green Dry Dock at Port Glasgow, at Bogston there. Bogston and Carts Dyke. The Inch Green Dry Dock, it's still there. And they brought her into that and had to take, I think it was 7'6". I think it was 7'6". They had to take out of the dock to get her in. Scottie, me and Mrs. Tupsway have gone on some Clyde cruises over the last couple of years. One allowed us to go right up to the famous Sugar Boat shipwreck and touch the hull. Highly recommended. Now, you're talking about the Captianus. She's not quite as obvious as she was. But I remember the night she grounded. Huge storm. She dragged her anchor and went on to the sandbank. And people were going out to the Captianus. I had a wee boat, and I used to go round the Captianus. My father and I built a dinghy. Scottie, I'm thinking of becoming an artist. I've just drawn a pair of curtains. Oh! Nupty-heed, you crack us all up with your carry-on. I went into the doctor's. He said, what's wrong with you? I said, I think I'm becoming a pair of curtains. He said, oh, pull yourself together. We remember all these. Yes, so they had to take something small, I think it was 7'6", out of the dock to get her bow in. And she dominated. You know, that old road, I suppose it's the A8, isn't it? The A8 running to Greenock, the old road. And then they started to dual it and got the motorway opened up and everything. Because what you used to have to do was you meandered through Port Glasgow, actually through the town centre. You meandered away out of Greenock through Rouen Street, Dalrymple Street, all that kind of carry on. And away out past the police station, the fire station, and you went to Port Glasgow, and you could go up the Clune Brae to Kilmacombe and Bridge of Weir, or you could carry on through the port, through Wood Hall, wonderful, through Wood Hall, out past Park Lee, and then up the hill. You could turn up for Houston at Langbank. You went through the village of Langbank, and your next one was Bishopton. You went through Bishopton, and then you went through Paisley and headed out Glasgow Road, Paisley, and then your next one was Hillington. I think you got out towards Hillington, and then you could go over the brig into Glasgow. Crazy, crazy stuff. You had to go all the way through Glasgow. Oh, you have no idea. I tell you. What a carry on. Now then, you know what we got here? A big shout out to the Esplanade Cafe. I've travelled from Glasgow and back just to get some tops are here. The Esplanade Cafe. Campbell Street. Next to it used to be the Creamery. Yes, the Creamery, Campbell Street. And then down to Prince's Pier. And Monroe's boats were moored at Prince's Pier. And when I was very young, you could get a train to Glasgow via Kilmacombe, Paisley Canal Street, and into Glasgow from Prince's Pier. And the cruise liners all left. It's now the container terminal. And you had the Creamery. And then further up, you cross Brome Street, and still on Campbell Street, into the left, was the Arts Guild Theatre. And before it was the Arts Guild Theatre, it was the West End Baths. And my uncle was the chairman of the West End Baths. And they were derelict after the Second World War, 1946. And they used the slope of the baths for the theatre. And the most beautiful 500-seater theatre. I've performed there many times. Wonderful. We now have the Beacon Arts Centre in Greenock. Wonderful. But the Arts Guild was just something else, I tell you. So are most steamers from the Clyde, Scottie? There's quite a lot of steamers that were built in the Clyde. Quite a niche term. Well, yes, almost everything was built in the Clyde. And mainly built at Denny's of Dumbarton, just in at the leaving there beside Dumbarton Rock. So Sandpoint on your left, and just across from Sandpoint, Denny's of Dumbarton, who built all these turbine steamers. Tamseath, TB Seath at Rutherglen built them. A.J. Ingalls, A and J. Ingalls at Point House in Govan. Harland and Wolff, the Duchess of Hamilton was built at Harland and Wolff. Who else had we got up there building Clyde steamers? I'm just trying to think. But yes, most of them came out of Denny's. Most of the Caledonian Steam Packet, most of McBrain, most of Williamson Buchanan, the King Edward, 1901. The Duchess of Argyll, 1906. Amazing, and on it went. Turbine steamers, 1906, 1902, the Queen Alexandra. She went and fired and went to Canada as the Princess Patricia for Canadian Pacific Railway, very popular. And she was replaced by another Queen Alexandra in 1912 that became the St. Columba for McBrains. Yes, I tell you. And then they converted them from coal burning to oil burning. Tremendous. What else did we have? 1926, the King George V. I remember her very well. 1930, the Duchess of Montrose. 1932, the Duchess of Hamilton. 1933, the Queen Mary. And I think after that, that was kind of it for turbines. You had the Marchioness of Graham. Amazing. Wow. So there we are. So wonderful stuff, I tell you. What have we got here? Whoa. There we go. We're just verifying so we can continue. How good is that? Right, guys, we're going to have to dash, sadly. It's heartbreaking because it's just been so lovely to be with you tonight. Are you Scottish? Slightly. Do you do radio anymore? No. The railway in Springburn. I tell you. Scottie, my favourite broadcaster. You're very kind. Camera ha-oo, Scottie Dinky-Doo. Scottie, what have we got here? Oh my goodness, how's your day? My day was fabulous. World famous. So there you are. Yes, absolutely world famous, I tell you. Good night, Scottie and everyone. Good night, Susan. Susan always pushes off a minute or two early, but she stayed on tonight. That's quite good. I have to go shortly. Thorough pleasure chatting, Scottie. I'll endeavour to be back next week. Topswahe, an absolute privilege and a joy having you with us. Thank you so much. Professor Numpteed says good night. Can everybody say good night to Susan? Who have we got here? Good evening, says Philip. Good evening, Philip. Lovely to have you with us. And a big dinky-doo to you. And thank you for all your kindness and for your gifts. Ali Belly. So there you go. No A. That's it for now, but who knows what the future might bring. Made in Turkey now, says John. Yes, but John, that's just wrong on so many levels. False economy, I tell you. Good night, all. Good night, Topswahe. You take care of yourself, Dinky-Doo. Good night, everybody, and God bless. Stick out your tongue and say ta-ta. Ta-ta. Oh.